I just want to address the issue of the selection of passages for the children's liturgy in particular, and also Sunday school. Some parishes will be using children's liturgy, taking the children out of the Mass. Technically speaking, they should be children who haven't yet received the sacraments. And other times, the parish is actually running a Sunday school, and that's a growing phenomenon. Now, with the Sunday school, you can cover the Mass itself, the Mass kit, the parts of the Mass, other feast days that are not on that particular Sunday that are occurring in the week before or the week after. So there's a great variety that one can choose from. That's the Sunday school. And then with children's liturgy, it's more restricted. It is intended to actually focus on the readings of that particular Mass. The challenge lies in the fact that for young children, keeping the focus on the fact that in principle it should be for those who haven't received the sacraments, they will be very young. Other times, I think sometimes children who are a little bit older do go out to the children's liturgy time, at least on occasion. So one is restricted, and the challenge is that the readings are sometimes not that easy for the little ones to understand. So how do we get around that? The choices that I'm making for the Sunday presentations, making here on the SALT approach, I will need to look sometimes in quite a lot of, with a fine focus on other readings, not the Gospel reading. If the Gospel reading is too adult or too strong for the little children, and often that will come from the Gospel Acclamation, or one of the first or second readings, perhaps. Then what it is a good idea to do in that case, if it's a Gospel Acclamation reading, for example, then it's a matter of possibly just using that Gospel Acclamation as it is, or using a slightly extended version of it, taking that Gospel Acclamation point, it might be one verse in a chapter, and extending it a bit before or after to put it in a context, or using it as a springboard. For example, if it says I'm the good shepherd in there, I feed my sheep, or whatever it is, that you might launch then into the good shepherd, one of the three good shepherd parables that are presented through the SALT approach, which can vary. So it puts a bit of a variety in there, and one has to just make a link with the Gospel Acclamation. When it's a Gospel reading and some of it is appropriate but other aspects are not appropriate, it's a matter of selection. So it'll be selected extracts from that Gospel reading, brought down to an appropriate set of words for the children. So that's what I do. And then, as I said before, if it's Sunday school, there's a great variety, all the feasts and all the readings that have happened in the week prior or coming up afterwards. And then the other thing to consider if it's Sunday school is that a part of the session should be children actually having the time, which doesn't happen necessarily with children's liturgy, having the time to explore and select previous materials that have been introduced to them. So they might want to return to the city of Jerusalem or the magnet maps or what was covered in the previous week, and they want to go back to that, or the Last Supper, or any of the key presentations that they have experienced. And just a final note that is worth mentioning, that when it is the case that the children are using previously introduced materials, it should be that. It shouldn't be that they're going to things, if they have access to those things, that they haven't actually been introduced to. And another aspect to remember is that many times in their first encounters, the children will sometimes tend to literally play in another way with the figurines. That's where the catechist or the teacher needs to keep an eye on that, and then be with those children or come and visit those children to actually get them back on track, or give them an alternative that they could go away and use if they have demonstrated they're not ready to use the materials in a way that is intended. It can happen particularly with certain things like the scenical characters, for example, or the gospel characters, where there are lots of different little people there. And that needs to be borne in mind. The focus needs to be on what the actual diorama is actually meant to depict and communicate.